Under the dying glare of a collapsing star, Captain Orion Voss stood amid a labyrinth of twisted metal and shattered dreams, his heart pounding with fierce resolve. Every rusted fragment whispered memories of loss and defiance, a silent promise of rebellion against the Empire's suffocating grip. Tonight, the scrapyard was a crucible of hope and despair, its chaos mirroring his own tumultuous past as he prepared to reclaim the future from the remnants of a forgotten war. The Eclipse galaxy Titan loomed as a vast, derelict mosaic of broken satellites, jagged metal carcasses, and flickering neon signs that once heralded prosperity. The air here was a pungent mix of burnt circuitry, scorched fuel, and the metallic tang of rust, all swirling in the weightless void. Amid this chaotic debris, every shattered panel and splintered alloy carried the echo of battles long past, a testament to the brutal wars that had scarred the cosmos. Captain Orion Voss moved with a deliberate, almost reverent gait through the narrow corridors of discarded machinery. His midnight storm eyes, set beneath a furrow of hardened resolve, scanned the ruin as though seeking both ghosts of his past and the raw potential for a new future. The deep scars etched across his weathered face were not merely physical. They were the silent narrative of every betrayal and loss inflicted by an empire that spared no mercy. Each step he took was a silent vow to transform this battlefield of remnants into a bastion of insurgent might. He paused beside a hulking mass of twisted steel, letting his gloved fingers trail over its rough, cold surface. The sensation sparked memories of those he had lost, the echo of laughter now silenced by the ruthless decree of imperial tyranny. In that moment, the scrap became more than inert metal. It was the embodiment of shattered dreams, a tangible relic of a past marred by despair. "This isn't just debris," he murmured into the void, his voice a low blend of pain and determination. "It's our history, and our future." Above him, the cosmos stretched in a tapestry of dying starlight and distant, unyielding darkness. The scrapyard's eerie illumination, cast by intermittent flares of malfunctioning energy cores, danced over the worn surfaces like specters of rebellion. The ambient hum of scavenger drones and the clatter of makeshift tools punctuated the silence, each sound resonating like a heartbeat in the vast emptiness. Every discarded piece of technology here told a story of survival, of rebellion against a system that sought to crush individuality. Yet, beneath this visual symphony of decay and defiance, a darker tension simmered. Unbeknownst to Orion, the Empire's iron fist was never far behind. Rumors of Admiral Celine Carrock's relentless hunt, a ghostly presence that stalked the fringes of the scrapyard, had begun to permeate even the most hidden corners of this derelict world. The thought of Imperial forces descending like vultures over this domain ignited a spark of urgency within him. Every shadow cast by the dying star, every echo of clashing metal, was a reminder that the battle for freedom was already underway. In the midst of the clutter, a broken holographic sign sputtered its final message in a flicker of static, a relic of a bygone era urging hope and unity. Orion's gaze hardened as he absorbed the sign's fading plea, its fractured words resonating with his own unspoken vow. This scrapyard, with all its scars and imperfections, was his proving ground. Here, in the midst of cosmic desolation, he would begin to assemble more than a warship. He would forge a symbol of resistance that could challenge the Empire's suffocating rule. A distant clatter of metal caught his attention, a subtle reminder that he was not alone in this desolation. From the shadowed recesses emerged a loyal crew member, Mira, her eyes alight with the same fierce determination. "Captain, the salvage from Sector 3 is unstable," she warned, her voice tinged with both concern and excitement. Orion's response was measured, his tone a blend of urgency and reassurance. "Then we adapt, Mira. Every scrap we claim brings us one step closer to our freedom." Their brief exchange, carried on the whisper of the recycling wind, underscored a fragile camaraderie amid a landscape of ruin. Within these scrapyard shadows, every discarded piece of metal and every whispered secret of the past converged into a singular defiant purpose. Captain Orion Voss was not merely scavenging for parts, he was collecting the lost fragments of hope to piece together a future unchained by imperial oppression. As the dying star's light flickered overhead and the cosmos held its breath, Orion's silhouette merged with the swirling darkness, a lone figure poised on the edge of revolution, ready to transform despair into defiant glory. In the aftermath of his solitary vow amid scrapyard shadows, Captain Orion Voss emerged from the darkness like a spark destined to ignite a revolution. The low hum of salvage drones and the clatter of reclaimed metal filled the hidden corridors of the Eclipse galaxy Titan, where whispers of imperial tyranny mingled with the acrid tang of ionized air. Rumors of Admiral Karok's relentless pursuit had spread like wildfire among the disillusioned, and now every clandestine meeting spot, tucked away in rusted alcoves and abandoned control rooms, buzzed with a fervent urgency for change. Within a dim, cavernous workshop carved into the belly of an old cargo freighter, a ragtag assembly of misfits gathered around flickering hollow screens and makeshift workbenches. The space was bathed in an eerie phosphorescent glow. Fractured beams of light danced across walls lined with salvaged circuitry and worn, patched-up armor plates. Orion stood at the center, his presence commanding yet humble, as he surveyed the eager faces before him. Mira, whose determined eyes still carried the shimmer of last night's resolve, stepped forward from the group. Her voice, husky with both fatigue and excitement, broke the silence. "Captain, the news from Sector 9. More Imperial scouts are on the move. They're hunting us even in the dark." A low murmur of agreement swept through the gathering. Next to Mira, Jax, a broad-shouldered technician, whose hands bore the grease and scars of countless repairs, nodded gravely. "We can't let them quash our hopes. Every piece of scrap we salvage is a step towards reclaiming our future," he declared, his tone echoing through the cavern. His words resonated with the group, each member silently affirming the dangerous, audacious dream they all shared. Orion's eyes swept over the assembled crew, each one a living testament to rebellion. There was Tariq, whose nimble fingers and sharp intellect had once defied the conventional laws of engineering. Lyra, whose quiet resolve masked a fierce spirit and a talent for deciphering ancient tech. And finally, Remy, a young pilot with a wild grin and nerves of steel, whose daring had saved them more times than anyone could count. Together these disparate souls had forged a bond in the fires of oppression, each scar and misstep a mark of defiance against an empire that sought to crush individuality. Standing before a weathered hollow map that depicted the labyrinthine sectors of the scrapyard, Orion's voice was both steady and inspiring. "We stand at the brink of something monumental," he began, his words measured and deliberate. "In every rusted bolt, every discarded circuit, there lies a piece of our stolen past. Today we reclaim that history and build not just a warship but a symbol of our unyielding spirit. We will turn this pile of forgotten relics into the heart of our rebellion, and we'll do it our way." His declaration stirred the room like a gust of wind through dry leaves, and as plans began to form, the conversation shifted from whispered hopes to strategic determination. Detailed schematics were unfurled on cracked hollow displays, and debates sprang up, each voice contributing ideas, cautioning against oversight, and offering bold innovations. Lyra pointed out that the old ion thrusters from a decommissioned fleet, though deemed obsolete by Imperial standards, could provide the necessary burst of speed if integrated correctly. Tariq, always the pragmatist, emphasized reinforcing the ship's hull with composite alloys salvaged from distant sectors, ensuring that the vessel could withstand the Empire's brutal bombardments. Between technical jargon and fervent brainstorming, moments of raw emotion surfaced. Mira recounted the personal losses inflicted by the regime, a story of a family torn apart by indiscriminate violence that left scars deeper than any physical wound. Her voice wavered, yet in the gathering, her vulnerability transformed into a rallying cry for justice. "Every time I see a scrap of metal, I see a memory of those we lost," she whispered, her eyes burning with the promise of retribution. Orion placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, silently acknowledging that the stakes were not just tactical but deeply personal for each of them. As the hours stretched on, the workshop became a microcosm of the rebellion, a living, breathing blueprint of hope constructed from the remnants of a shattered world. The clinking of tools, the shuffling of feet on metallic grates, and the intermittent buzz of distant alarms outside the secured zone blended into a symphony of defiance. Outside, the endless void of space watched in silent testimony to the birth of a movement, while inside, every calculated stroke of a welder's torch and every decisive note in a hastily composed directive echoed the determination to stand against overwhelming odds. Between bouts of technical strategy and moments of heartfelt connection, Orion organized smaller teams, assigning each a crucial role in the grand design. Jax's crew was tasked with overhauling the ship's propulsion systems. Tariq and Lyra focused on integrating the navigation and defense arrays, ensuring that every bolt and circuit pulsed with potential. Remy, ever the fearless pilot, began testing modified flight algorithms, his laughter and reckless optimism offering a brief respite from the tension that had gripped them all. In a corner of the workshop, hidden behind a tattered curtain of hanging nets and discarded sensor arrays, a secretive meeting unfolded. A pair of grizzled veterans, their eyes hardened by countless skirmishes, discussed the Empire's latest maneuvers. Their hushed tones carried both caution and grim resolve, warnings of incoming patrols and the tightening noose of Admiral Karak's relentless pursuit. The information, passed quietly from one trusted ear to another, would later shape Orion's tactical plans, reminding everyone present that time was as scarce as it was precious. By the time the makeshift council adjourned, the ember of rebellion had grown into a steady, unwavering flame. Orion, standing in the center of a circle of determined faces, felt the weight and warmth of the collective resolve. The old freighter's corridors, once echoing with despair, now thrummed with a palpable sense of purpose. The crew dispersed to their designated tasks, the murmur of their voices blending with the ambient hum of machinery, and the distant, persistent call of the scrapyard's hidden heart. As Orion lingered for a moment alone, he allowed himself a rare, reflective pause. The dim light of a flickering panel illuminated his weathered face, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper promises of what was to come. Every scar, every faded memory, was now a stepping stone toward the future he was determined to build. In the silent communion, between man and machine, amid the scattered remnants of a forgotten past, hope was reforged, a hope that no matter how deeply the Empire's iron grip dug into the cosmos, the embers of rebellion would never be extinguished. The heart of the scrapyard pulsed with the metallic symphony of creation, as Captain Orion Voss and his crew set to work transforming raw, forgotten metal into a vessel of defiance. In a cavernous hangar carved out of a derelict freighter, the rhythmic clang of hammers, the sizzling hiss of welding torches, and the low hum of makeshift power converters filled the air. Every sound melded into a chorus of determination, a promise that even in ruin, ingenuity could forge hope. Rows of salvage components lay strewn about like the scattered pieces of a cosmic puzzle. The centerpiece of the operation was a hulking frame of twisted steel, a raw skeleton awaiting transformation into the warship that would become the symbol of their rebellion. Under the harsh glare of improvised floodlights, sparks flew in rapid succession as technicians hammered rivets and adjusted the contours of the vessel's hull. Each spark illuminated the resolute faces of those who labored tirelessly, their expressions a blend of exhaustion and fierce optimism. Orion moved purposefully along the framework, his eyes scanning the intricate interplay of metal and energy. His hands, calloused by years of salvage work, caressed the cold surface of a reclaimed composite panel as he inspected its integrity. "This plate may have been discarded by the Empire, but now it's the armor of our future," he murmured, his voice resonating with a quiet authority that inspired every member of the crew. His words were not just a commentary on their resourcefulness, they were a declaration of war against the oppression that had cast so many into despair. Nearby, Tariq and Lyra huddled over a flickering holo display, poring over schematics that merged ancient technology with modern modifications. Tariq's nimble fingers danced over the virtual interface, adjusting stress tolerances and recalibrating the energy absorption grid. "These ion thrusters," Lyra pointed out, her eyes alight with both technical fervor and a poetic vision, "will give us the burst we need to outmaneuver any Imperial blockade. Their outdated designs have hidden potential, if we can harness it correctly." Her words sparked a flurry of activity as other crew members scrambled to retrieve the necessary parts, every motion charged with the promise of reinvention. The clang of metal on metal echoed through the vast hangar, as Remy and Jax worked side by side, integrating propulsion systems salvaged from the wreckage of decommissioned fleets. Remy, with his fearless grin and ever-optimistic demeanor, manipulated the controls of an ancient drive module. The module sputtered to life with a reluctant roar before settling into a steady pulse. "It's alive, Jax," Remy exclaimed, his voice a mix of exhilaration and disbelief. Jax, who had spent years tinkering with relics of lost technology, allowed himself a brief smile, a rare moment of triumph in a world often overshadowed by loss. Amid the orchestrated chaos of construction, heated debates broke out in clusters of intense discussion. The design of the defense array, a crucial element of the warship, sparked a clash of visions. One group argued for a layered shield of recycled energy converters and quantum flux regulators, while another proposed a more aggressive offensive armament configuration that could deliver swift, decisive blows to any adversary. Orion, ever the mediator and visionary, stepped into the fray with a calm yet resolute tone. "Every challenge we face is an opportunity to prove our worth," he asserted, his gaze sweeping over the gathered engineers and strategists. "Our ship is not just metal. It's the embodiment of our collective will to rise. Let our debates forge not discord, but a design that stands as a testament to our resourcefulness." The tension of disagreement slowly gave way to collaborative synthesis. Tools clattered, sparks illuminated determined faces, and gradually, a coherent structure emerged from the scattered remnants of a bygone era. In one corner of the hangar, Mira adjusted a panel with delicate precision, her fingers tracing the intricate circuit pathways that would channel the ship's defensive energies. Each circuit was a lifeline, a fragile yet potent promise that every sacrifice made in the past could be transformed into the resilience of tomorrow. As the warship's form took shape, the atmosphere in the hangar transformed from frantic urgency to a focused determination steeped in shared sacrifice. The vessel's hull, once a haphazard collection of discarded metal, now gleamed with an almost reverential luster, its contours a blend of battered resilience and futuristic innovation. Every rivet and joint bore the unmistakable imprint of hands that had labored under the weight of both physical strain and unyielding resolve. In a quieter corner, away from the cacophony of construction, Orion took a moment to reflect. Standing before a large viewport that framed the chaotic beauty of the scrapyard outside, he allowed himself a rare glimpse of introspection. The distant star, flickering and fading at the edge of the horizon, reminded him that even the mightiest celestial bodies could wane, and that the spark of rebellion must be nurtured before it could blaze into something unstoppable. His thoughts drifted to those who had suffered under the Empire's ruthless rule, and to the future that lay hidden in the promise of each salvaged scrap. In that silent communion, the ship was not just a vessel, it was a living monument to every lost soul yearning for liberation. The hum of work resumed as Orion rejoined his crew, his determination rekindled. "We are more than the sum of our parts," he declared, his voice rising above the mechanical chorus. "In every bolt and every spark, there is a story of survival. Today, we write a new chapter, a future forged from the embers of our past." His words resonated deeply, galvanizing the weary yet hopeful hearts gathered around him. In that pivotal moment, as the warship's framework became an undeniable reality, the hangar thrummed with the promise of impending revolution. The crew, bound by shared purpose and the scars of past battles, moved as one, each individual, a crucial element in a grand design that stretched far beyond the confines of their broken world. The vessel they built was destined to challenge an empire, to shatter the chains of oppression, and to blaze a trail through the darkness of space with the light of reclaimed hope. Every clang of metal, every burst of heat from a welding torch, was a reminder that even in the wreckage, there was beauty, and that from the discarded remnants of a forgotten era, a future could be reborn. The warship, with its patchwork of old and new, stood as a bold promise that resilience and unity could transform despair into defiant glory. A low, persistent thrum of energy pulsed through the warship's newly forged corridors, a heartbeat that signaled not only the vessel's imminent launch, but the uprising of every soul on board. The Eclipse Galaxy Titan's vast scrapyard, once a mausoleum of forgotten dreams, now reverberated with a renewed sense of purpose. In the command center, the warship's nerve center, holographic maps and tactical overlays bathed the room in shifting shades of blue and amber, each pulsation marking the urgency of the moment. Captain Orion Voss stood before the central console, his eyes fixed on the rapidly changing intel feeds. Every display vibrated with warnings. Imperial fleets were mobilizing, and the dreaded silhouette of Admiral Celine Karok's flagship loomed like an omen on the fringes of sensor range. The vessel, a chaotic yet defiant patchwork of reclaimed metal and hard-won ingenuity, had become the physical embodiment of the rebellion. It was no longer just a ship. It was a rallying cry for every oppressed spirit scattered among the stars. Status report. Orion's voice cut through the tense atmosphere, firm and resolute. Around him the crew, each scarred by loss yet buoyed by a shared hunger for freedom, murmured their updates. Jax, fingers flying over a cracked yet reliable console, responded. Propulsion systems are green. Ion thrusters ready to flare on command. We're holding position in Sector 4. His words, although technical, carried a weight of destiny, as if the very mechanics of survival were aligned with the crew's collective heartbeat. In a quieter corner of the bridge, Lyra and Tariq huddled over a delicate set of schematics, their voices a hushed counterpoint to the urgency of the room. The defense matrix is nearly complete, Lyra whispered, eyes glinting with focused determination. We've integrated the quantum flux regulators. If they hold, our shields will deflect a barrage from Karok's fleet. Tariq nodded, adjusting a parameter on his portable device. We have one shot at this. Every component, every bolt, counts. Their dialogue was interlaced with both technical precision and an undercurrent of trepidation. The battle ahead was as much a test of spirit as it was of engineering. Outside the reinforced viewport, the cosmic void stretched into infinity, a dark canvas splattered with the light of dying stars. The vast emptiness was soon to be disturbed by the thunderous approach of Imperial warships, their formations sleek and merciless against the starry expanse. The distant rumble of engine power from the enemy fleet was almost perceptible, a reminder that time was dwindling. Amid this looming threat, the warship's crew found themselves at the crossroads of fear and fierce resolve. Mira, her eyes reflecting both anxiety and an unyielding fire, stepped forward from a cluster of operators. Captain, sensors indicate multiple contact points. Admiral Karok's fleet isn't just closing in, they're coordinating a full-spectrum assault. Her voice, though tempered by concern, vibrated with an intensity born from shared hardships. Orion met her gaze, his own expression unflinching despite the gravity of the news. Then we strike first. We use the element of surprise to turn their precision against them, he declared, his words slicing through the mounting tension like a beacon of hope. The bridge erupted into a flurry of coordinated activity as orders flew across channels. Remy, stationed at the navigation console, plotted evasive maneuvers and attack vectors with swift precision. We're ready to move on your mark, Captain. The course is set. We can weave through their formation like a ghost in the dark, he reported, a blend of daring optimism and technical mastery threading through his tone. In the midst of this orchestrated chaos, the warship itself seemed to pulse with an almost palpable energy, a living testament to the crew's collective will. Every creak of metal, every flicker of a malfunctioning light, echoed the history of struggle and sacrifice that had birthed this vessel. It was a monument to the art of transformation, a beacon crafted from the remnants of an empire's discarded past. Orion's voice softened momentarily as he addressed his assembled crew, a final reminder of the stakes they faced. "We are not merely fighting for survival," he said, his tone both measured and impassioned, "but for every life that has been crushed under the weight of tyranny. Today we reclaim our future. Every command, every maneuver is a defiant act against the darkness that seeks to smother us." As the final countdown began, the warship shuddered with anticipation. The sound of clattering tools and hurried footsteps melded with the distant ominous hum of the approaching enemy fleet. In that charged moment, every individual on board felt the profound gravity of the battle that lay ahead, an inevitable confrontation where hope would be tested against the full might of Imperial power. With a deep, steadying breath, Captain Orion Voss initiated the launch sequence. The warship's engines roared to life, a symphony of reclaimed energy and defiant engineering echoing through the metal confines. Outside, the stars bore silent witness to this historic moment of insurgent resolve. In that instant, the call to battle was sounded, a resounding declaration that no matter the odds, the embers of rebellion would not be extinguished. The cosmos erupted in a blaze of fury as the rebel warship burst into the fray, a defiant beacon amid the vast star-speckled void. Captain Orion Voss's eyes locked on the incoming barrage as the ship's frame shuddered under the relentless weight of enemy fire. In that charged moment, the silence of space was shattered by the roar of energy cannons and the staccato thumping of plasma torpedoes, each explosion casting ghostly shadows against the dying light of a distant star. The Imperial fleet, sleek and merciless, advanced like a dark tide through the nebular mists. Their ships, streamlined instruments of calculated destruction, glided across the void with surgical precision. Orion's command center flickered with bursts of tactical data, holographic readouts, erratic sensor pings, and the staccato hum of alert systems that painted a vivid picture of impending chaos. "All stations, brace for impact," he roared into the comm, his voice a beacon of determination amid the turmoil. Inside the warship, every crew member became an instrument in the symphony of battle. Remy's nimble fingers danced over the navigation console as he plotted evasive maneuvers, his rapid calculations turning a near-certain collision into a narrow escape. "We're bending space, ion thrusters at maximum," he called out, his tone blending urgency with a hint of exhilaration. Across the bridge, Jax and Lyra synchronized their efforts, ensuring that the ship's defensive grid pulsed with renewed strength against the onslaught. Outside, the emptiness was transformed into a chaotic canvas of light and destruction. Bursts of radiant plasma crisscrossed the void as the warship's ion cannons found their marks on enemy vessels. Explosions bloomed like dark, celestial flowers, each one a momentary burst of violent beauty against the infinite backdrop of space. The piercing wail of alarms and the metallic symphony of clashing energies underscored the high stakes of the encounter. A cold, authoritative voice sliced through the cacophony over the comm channel. "Captain Voss, this is Admiral Karok. Surrender now and your crew might yet be spared." The message, laden with venom and finality, hung in the charged air, a stark reminder of the ruthless discipline that defined the Empire. For a heartbeat, the warship's interior fell silent, every soul holding its breath in defiant anticipation. Then, with the calm intensity that had become his trademark, Orion responded, "We fight for every life your tyranny has crushed. We fight for freedom, and we will never surrender." His words sparked a surge of resolute energy, infusing the crew with the strength to push back against the Imperial juggernaut. Amid the relentless barrage, a critical moment emerged as an enemy missile breached the outer hull, sending shrapnel spiraling into the heart of the vessel. The shockwave rattled every compartment, a searing reminder of the thin line between victory and ruin. "Damage control, reinforce all breach points," Orion barked, his command punctuating the chaos. Crew members scrambled, their hands steady despite the surge of adrenaline as they patched up the wounds in their makeshift sanctuary. In a daring tactical maneuver, Tarek and Lyra unleashed an improvised electromagnetic pulse. The blue cascade of energy rippled outward, momentarily disorienting the Imperial formation. In that fleeting window of vulnerability, Orion seized the opportunity. "Fire all weapons, let them feel the force of our reclaimed hope," he commanded, his voice resonant with unyielding defiance. The warship's armaments erupted in a coordinated fury, a barrage of energy beams and explosive shells that transformed the void into a tempest of light. Each salvo found its target, sending enemy ships tumbling into chaotic spirals of disintegration. The battle's intensity was palpable. Every flash of light, every shudder of the ship was an ode to the indomitable spirit of rebellion. In the midst of this cosmic tempest, individual acts of valor shone like stars. Remy expertly piloted the warship through a deadly field of debris and enemy fire, executing evasive maneuvers that defied the very laws of gravity. His quick thinking allowed the vessel to weave through destruction, as if it were a phantom, dodging torpedoes and narrowly escaping explosions. Meanwhile, Jax's steady hands ensured that every weapon system remained online, his focused commands a lifeline for a crew facing the void's merciless wrath. Yet, even as the rebel forces pressed their advantage, the Imperial onslaught persisted. A final ominous transmission crackled over the comm system. "Captain Admiral Karok's flagship is engaging directly. Prepare for a full-scale assault." The gravity of the moment deepened. This confrontation was no longer a battle among many, but the clash of two unyielding wills. With a steely resolve, Orion directed the warship into a daring offensive. The vessel's thrusters roared as it surged forward, positioning itself directly in the path of the flagship. The ensuing collision of energy and ambition was both terrifying and breathtaking, a maelstrom of light and sound where every moment could seal the fate of the rebellion. Orion's voice, steady and unwavering, guided his crew through the chaos, every command a lifeline tethered to hope. As energy beams converged, and the flagship's hull trembled under the barrage, a surge of triumphant determination swept over the bridge. For one electrifying moment, the Imperials faltered, their coordinated assault splintering under the relentless counterattack. A cascade of explosive brilliance enveloped the flagship, marking a turning point in the battle, a moment when defiance shattered the illusion of Imperial invincibility. Yet, even in this burst of hard-won victory, the struggle was far from over. The cosmic battlefield, scarred by the fury of combat, bore silent witness to the relentless dance of survival. The warship, battered but unbowed, continued to push forward, every crew member locked in a singular purpose to reclaim their future from the jaws of tyranny. In the heart of the Eclipse showdown, amidst the tempest of energy and steel, Captain Orion Voss's resolute gaze never wavered. With every fiber of his being, he vowed that this battle would echo through the corridors of time, a resounding affirmation that the light of rebellion, however forged in the darkness, could never be extinguished. In the cold silence that followed the cosmic tempest, the rebel warship drifted among the scattered remnants of battle, a wounded leviathan cradled by the vast indifferent void. The clamor of combat had faded, leaving only the soft, mournful creaks of damaged metal and the sporadic beeps of failing systems echoing through the vessel's corridors. Every scar on its battered hull told a story of defiance, each dent and shudder a testament to the fierce clash that had just raged against the Imperial juggernaut. Captain Orion Voss stood in the bridge's dim glow, surveying the aftermath with eyes that mirrored both the sorrow of loss and the unyielding flame of determination. Outside the viewport, distant stars flickered like solitary candles, their light piercing the eternal darkness. The void, usually a canvas of endless possibility, now seemed to bear the heavy weight of grief and sacrifice. Orion's mind replayed the explosive moments of the battle, each burst of light, every anguished cry, and in the silence that now prevailed, the cost of their rebellion pressed down on him like the gravity of a dying star. The crew, once a chorus of coordinated defiance, had scattered into clusters, their whispered conversations and subdued murmurs filling the spaces where cheers of victory once rang. Mira, her gaze fixed on the trembling repairs being made by the damage control team, murmured, "We've lost so much tonight, but every scar is a reminder of why we fight." Her words, heavy with both sorrow and hope, resonated through the room. Beside her, Remy checked sensor readouts with a furrowed brow, his normally irreverent grin replaced by a look of sober responsibility as he reported, "Minor breaches here. Critical systems there, we're holding but barely." In a secluded corner of the ship, Jax and Tarek labored side by side, piecing together shattered circuits and re-establishing vital communications. Their hands, calloused and steady, moved methodically amid a backdrop of sparks and falling debris. The collaborative silence between them spoke volumes, a shared understanding that while the battle was over, the war for freedom was far from won. Every repaired panel, and every restored conduit was a small act of resistance against an empire that thrived on despair. Orion retreated briefly to a quiet alcove near the command center, a place where the hum of life support systems mingled with the whisper of lost memories. He ran his fingers along a deep gouge in the wall, a fresh wound inflicted by stray shrapnel, and for a fleeting moment, allowed himself the luxury of remembrance. Images of fallen friends, of dreams sacrificed in the heat of battle, flickered across his mind like ghostly apparitions. Every piece of this ship, he thought, carries the weight of our past and the promise of our future. The solitude was both a burden and a sanctuary, a space to reconcile the raw pain of defeat with the burning resolve to rise again. In the central atrium, the warship's pulse, the steady, persistent rhythm of its engines, reminded everyone that life endured even in the bleakest moments. Crew members gathered for a brief debrief, their hushed voices punctuating the low drone of the ship's core. Lyra, her eyes reflecting both the spark of innovation and the toll of relentless conflict, declared softly, "We will rebuild. Every crack in our armor, every fracture in our spirit will be mended with the fuel of our hope." Her words, tender yet resolute, sparked quiet nods and determined glances around the room. As the ship's repair teams toiled under the glow of emergency lights, a somber determination settled over the crew. The battle had scarred them, leaving indelible marks on both metal and soul, but it had also unified them in a shared purpose. The Empire's shadow loomed ever large on the horizon, an ever-present threat waiting to strike anew. Yet within the battered vessel, in the quiet aftermath of chaos, a new resolve was taking shape, a promise that from the ruins of defeat, they would craft the future of rebellion. In the void's vast emptiness, where silence reigned supreme, every spark of light, every repaired line of circuitry, was a beacon of hope. The warship, though wounded, pulsed with the quiet determination of its crew, a living monument to the sacrifices made and the battles yet to come. And as the darkness of space stretched endlessly around them, they prepared with hearts both heavy and hopeful, to forge onward in the quest for freedom. In the quiet prelude to cosmic morning, the battered warship floated like a phoenix among the scattered remnants of battle, its scarred hull bathed in the gentle glow of a nascent starlight. In the bridge, Captain Orion Voss stood at the expansive viewport, where darkness gradually surrendered to the soft radiance of a cosmic sunrise. The endless void, once a realm of ruthless night, now revealed hints of celestial wonder, a tapestry of distant nebulae and shimmering stars that promised new beginnings. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was thick with a bittersweet serenity. Crew members, their faces marked by recent strife yet softened by hope, moved purposefully through the corridors. Each dent and repair on the vessel was a silent ode to battles fought and sacrifices made, a living monument to resilience. Mira, her eyes reflecting both lingering sorrow and fierce resolve, paused beside a workbench cluttered with mended circuitry and salvaged components. "Every scar tells our story," she murmured, her voice trembling with emotion. We are the remnants of a shattered past, but in these repairs we craft our future. Elsewhere, Remy and Jax fine-tuned navigational systems amid the gentle hum of restored engines, their quiet focus a stark contrast to the chaos of earlier conflict. Their every adjustment was a note in the symphony of renewal, each keystroke an affirmation that even after the fiercest storm, order and hope could be reclaimed. In the background, the soft clatter of tools and murmurs of reassured voices formed a tender cadence, a prelude to the promise of rebirth. Captain Voss's thoughts drifted to the echoes of the recent battle, a maelstrom of explosions, desperate cries, and the weight of loss. Yet, in that reflective silence, he also recognized the indomitable spirit that had driven his crew to defy an empire's tyranny. Gathering his closest officers in a modest chamber adorned with flickering hollow projections of star maps and battle diagrams, he spoke with a voice that blended solemnity with inspiring conviction. "Today," he began, "we stand at the threshold of a new era. Our vessel, built from the remnants of oppression, now carries the spark of freedom. The empire may loom, but our resolve shines brighter than any star." Across the room, Lyra's steady gaze met his as she whispered, "Our unity is our strength. Each piece of reclaimed scrap is a testament to our defiance, a reminder that even in our darkest hours light endures." Her words, shared among the quiet nods and determined eyes of the crew, ignited a shared belief that every sunrise would herald another chance to fight for a better tomorrow. As the first full rays of starlight broke through the viewport, casting long, dancing shadows along the metal walls, the warship seemed to pulse with a renewed heartbeat. The interplay of light and dark evoked the eternal struggle between tyranny and hope, a struggle that, despite the scars of past battles, had only just begun to reveal its luminous promise. The vessel, once a chaotic assembly of discarded fragments, now gleamed with an almost sacred beauty, as if the very essence of rebellion had been etched into its frame. In the moments before the new day fully dawned, the crew dispersed to their stations, each mindful of the path that lay ahead. Orion, gazing out at the infinite expanse, felt the weight of the past intermingled with the fervor of anticipation. Every star in the sky was a beacon, a reminder that even in the cold darkness of space, there was warmth in the collective courage of those who dared to dream. The ship's course, set by the steady hands of its pilots and the meticulous recalibration of its systems, was a bold declaration of their commitment, a pledge that the rebellion would continue to blaze a trail through the cosmos. In that sacred moment, as the cosmos awakened with the promise of a new dawn, the warship and its crew became one with the universe, a living testament to the power of resilience and hope. The scars of battle were no longer symbols of defeat, but emblems of a future reimagined. With hearts united in defiance, and eyes fixed on the horizon of possibility, they embraced the emerging day as the true beginning of their revolution.